Test Drive Unlimited. Those three words are legendary in the open world racer niche. It's been over a decade since the last game in the series, so it's reasonable for the next game to carry that name to have justifiably high expectations. But things are very different this time around, with a completely different studio in charge of creating Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. What can we really expect from the upcoming racer? Well, that's what I'm here today to go over. Now let's start with what we know so far about the game. It will be taking place in a 1-to-1 scale recreation of Hong Kong Island. Since we haven't seen the map in any sort of gameplay yet, it's tricky to predict how exactly I feel about this. The only real statistic that we know so far is that Hong Kong Island will have around 550 kilometers of driving roads. It's going to be a much smaller map than either one of TDU2's maps, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. The reason I enjoyed TDU's maps over other games was because of just how vast and open that they were. Some say that having a more dense and detailed map is more enjoyable, but I personally strongly disagree with this. Looking at Forza Horizon 5, while yeah, it's great for its first impressions, after your first few visits to each location, that glamour starts to fade away, and it just starts to feel like you've been to the same locations a million times, and you never really keep discovering new spots on the map, something which I really enjoyed about TDU. I do hope TDUSC's Hong Kong Island is able to capture a good balance of the two, having, say, a large industrial city district which is dense and packed full of activities and places to be, but also having those seemingly endless roads that lead you to the outskirts of the island. Putting the setting and map aside, this is a racing game after all, and let's discuss the car situation. This is where I really feel TDUSC is going to stick to its DNA of exclusively luxury and sports cars. What I expect here is a car list that's nowhere near the size of competitors like Forza Horizon, but the list will be much stronger, because unlike Forza, TDU doesn't have these car models already. So the entire list has to be made from scratch, meaning I really hope this will allow us to have the latest and greatest in the automotive world, unlike Forza, which seems to be a few years behind. Now, a big deal breaker with cars is dealerships. If they don't return, this game is going to lose a major factor which differentiated it from others, which was the special occasion that was going to a dealership, speccing out your car, and then purchasing it, rather than just pressing a button and having the car show up in your garage. Please, KT Racing, make sure dealerships make it in. Car customization is a topic I'm sure many are curious about. I personally don't believe TDUSC will have Need for Speed or even Forza levels of customization. I hope that we still get the opportunity to spec out our dream cars at dealerships with interior colors, wheels, maybe things like blacking out window trims and accents, but here's where my personal bias lies a little bit. I think that's more than enough, since I'm not too into modifying cars, especially high-end ones such as TDUSC's expected list, so that dealership customization would be more than enough for me. But possibly we might get the addition of a few high-end wheel manufacturers to kit out cars in the game, but I just can't see much more than that, and as I said earlier, that's fine with me. Now, it wouldn't be TDU without the whole lifestyle vibe that the old games had. And thankfully, it's already confirmed that at least some of this will be returning for Solar Crown. Houses were something that I know so many people loved about TDU 1 and 2, but Solar Crown is going to handle this a little differently. On the TDU website, we see a section dedicated to the Solar Hotel, which is the main competition hub and also where players live. This is slightly disappointing unless it's handled well. If there's no apartment customization or the ability to choose from multiple suites inside of the hotel, I think I speak for most everyone here where that would really be a disappointment. However, if we get the ability to do the same things as in TDU2, such as painting your walls, choosing your floor and some of the furniture, alongside the ability to purchase more expensive suites as we progress throughout the game, I can see this being a pretty cool concept. Going perfectly alongside the hotel, let's talk garages. We haven't heard anything about whether garages you can walk around or explore your cars will be returning, and it's slightly complicated by the whole Solar Hotel situation. The most I could see is we have a few reserved parking spaces in which we could select and display a few of our favorite cars. But I can't see more than that, unfortunately. Character customization. This has been loosely confirmed on their website under a section on how the player can express their passion for luxury. I personally believe clothing stores will be returning here. Hangout spots are already confirmed, so I can see spots like clothing stores fitting into the city of Hong Kong as well. Now, so far all I've mentioned have been side activities, but what about the main story and premise of TDUSC? This is where things differ from the previous games quite a bit. There are two clans in which to choose from, the Sharps Sharps and the Streets. The Sharps being more traditionally sophisticated, less flaunty, and more elegant. And the Streets are much more extravagant with how they display themselves, all about making a strong first impression. Both clans will be participating in the Solar Crown competition, and I really hope that this gets played out in the story and really gives you that strong rivalry and motivation in order to get the Solar Crown and wipe the smug face off your rival clan. Something that was very important in previous TDU games was the real sense of progress you got as you got closer to finishing the game. And it looks like this will be returning, as under the cars section on the website, we will have to, quote, demonstrate your commitment to the Solar Crown and the clan you represent to gain access to all of these exclusive models. I really hope that this means something and we get a more mature racer fit for seasoned players here. Now, I've said a lot about the overall game so far, most of it being pretty positive, but this doesn't mean I'm without concern. First off, this is a major name and should really be treated with respect to not put a stain on its legacy, and it is a massive task for KT Racing to undertake. And while I want to give them a shot, there are a few things that are concerning me. Now, initially the game was stated to release in September of 2022, but just recently a delay was confirmed into very vaguely just the year 2023. A delay in itself is not a bad thing in the slightest, and I think that's good overall. However, there are a few things from the Newswire post that really stuck out to me, and not in a good way. Firstly, the announcement of the development for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 was cancelled to make the game as next-gen as possible. This makes a bit of sense to me, except for the fact that the game was supposed to be releasing on Nintendo Switch as well. But they haven't mentioned if that was cancelled as well, or if they're going to continue that. So, are they still making that, or is that cancelled too? It would make sense to mention that in the press release, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait for more information on that. And then there's the fact that we're just a few months away from when the game was supposed to release, and we still have no in-game screenshots or footage. I might be looking into things too much, but it's still a little odd to me, and I'm going to reserve full judgment until release. But to summarize, TDUSC in this stage in time is a very exciting prospect, but it's still too early to say whether it will live up to the TDU legacy or not. Thank you very much for watching.